Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, we will take this floating monstrosity known as the new suburban suburbs and add it back into our city. First of all, we are going to extract every single build that we have on this floating island and arrange them into categories, like this. In order, we have the houses, the cartoon builds that I think I would like to keep together, the food-related builds, the supermarkets, and finally a mix of utility builds, hard-to-place builds, and builds that I'm not even sure belong in the suburbs. No, I didn't count how many builds there are in total. That'd be crazy. There's 100. There's 100 builds. And we have to find room for all of them. This is wonderful and all, but we are left with one issue though. This giant junk pile in the sky. I did record the footage of me removing the junk pile, but I think that this is more interesting. Here we have a before, and this is the after. Isn't it beautiful? I kinda miss it. Before I added any builds, I wanted to do a bit of landscaping to make the area a little bit more interesting. But this happened. Well, would you look at this? I hate it. We're just gonna do one of these. Let's just pretend that that didn't happen. I think that a better way of doing this might be to add a Game of Thrones inspired stone wall all the way around the area that I want the new suburban suburbs to encompass, and then try and do a little bit of landscaping afterwards. You may not like it, but this is what perfection looks like. I can't do this anymore, we're just gonna send it. Let's start here. I'm looking for a build in particular, and it's missing. If that build's missing, what else is missing? It'd be super handy right now if I had an entire world dedicated to every single build that I've ever made, arranged month by month. So it turns out we were missing Most Tavern, the Quickie Mart, the First Church of Springfield, a lot of Simpsons builds basically, and then the Sushi Bar and TJ Maxx. Now, this is the build that I was looking for. The idea here is to create a small retail park. We already have Walmart and Petco, and I think the TJ Maxx, or TK Maxx if you're British, kind of fits a similar aesthetic. We also have TGI Fridays, which I added because it sounds like TJ Maxx. We have of course had to add a rather large car park to accommodate all of these builds. And then I thought TGI Fridays looked a little bit lonely. So I added both a Wingstop and an Applebee's. This is quickly becoming the beige and brick retail park. This did also mean that we had to elongate the long road that leads into the new suburban suburbs, which actually got me to thinking about the general layout of the place. I think that would be cool to finally utilize one of my road-related builds. This one is the hill, bridge, underground road combo. This is going to take us back into the downtown area of our city, and a little bit of a spoiler, I think that we are going to connect it to the motorway. Not right now, but definitely at a future point in time. In this instance, I also had to carve a tunnel through the stone barrier that contains the new suburban suburbs, which I think is really cool. As this is an entrance/exit point into this part of the city, I thought it would make sense to have a petrol station here, or gas station if you prefer. And luckily for us, we actually have one of those in the form of my Shell petrol station. I'm actually devastated though because I forgot to include the actual petrol tanker itself, which is a shame because I actually really like that build. After adding my hill bridge tunnel combo, I was kind of inspired to add some more utility builds. So here we have my roundabout, which is being placed in just the weirdest way. I had to cut it up like a pizza and then place each slice one by one because otherwise I would just wreak havoc on Applebee's. I added this build on a whim, but it actually turned out to be a great idea as it gave us some guidance in which direction we should build. Which naturally got me thinking about the Simpsons. I have gathered every single Simpsons related build together, and we are going to make a mini Springfield somewhere in the new suburban suburbs. I decided to start off with Springfield Elementary, placing it right at the very end of the stone wall that I created, lining up with the road from the roundabout. After that, I added both the Flanders residence and the Simpsons house. I stuck Moe's Tavern opposite Flanders house and the Quickie Mart opposite the Simpsons house. Come to think of it, I probably should have swapped those around, but you know what, it's probably a good job that I didn't because it might have been a bit too tempting for Homer. I then created a cul-de-sac by slapping the church right at the very end. I really love how this little section of the suburbs has turned out. I'm starting to wonder whether I should make any more Simpsons builds, and if you guys would like to suggest some, leave a comment down below. With Mini Springfield complete, I wasted no time in adding some houses along the edge of Springfield Elementary car park. I'm making a small suburbs here, utilising 3 of the different suburban style houses. I think that a good combination is to utilise the small/medium houses to make single sides of a street, and then using the larger houses to cap off the end of the cul-de-sac. I think that this works really well. I then decided to head in the opposite direction and do something a little bit different. I have clustered the leisure centre, regular park/playground, the dog park, the skate park, and the public toilet together to create just a nice synergistic combination of builds. Now, these do work rather well together, but I did feel as though a little something was missing, so I added both my ice cream stand and my food truck, which I reskinned using blue concrete rather than orange concrete. I really wanted to add a regular cafe to the end of this road, but it turns out I only have one of those, and it doesn't really fit the vibe. So instead, I placed my doggy cafe here instead, and I have to be honest, I think this was the right choice. Not only do I love the look of the thing, but it also makes sense as we have the dog park here as well, so it's a win-win. I also took the opportunity to do a little bit of road building, which was really helpful because I still didn't really have an overall plan for the suburbs. I was kind of just winging it. Then for some reason, I got to thinking that the South Park houses would fit perfectly along the length of this road, which did pose a slight challenge as we did have to alter the elevation of some of them just to conform to the landscape, but I think it turned out really well. Just don't ask me why it makes sense that these 4 houses have snow on them and no others do. It's magic snow. I then had the idea to add my tennis court in between both the South Park houses and the dog cafe/dog park. It just fit nicely here, which left me with this interesting bit of land actually. Unfortunately, it wasn't really big enough for any of my regular builds, so I thought that it'd be a cool idea to create a nature walk/bit of forest area to walk the dogs and just to kind of keep everywhere connected together. I've never really built anything like this before, so I thought that it might be fun to have like a birch forest for a bit of a change. I have a central path just running down the middle, a bunch of birch trees on either side. I added so much bone meal that this place started to smell like skeletons. And then just some logs, larger plants, a little bit of debris. Oh, I also added a fence at the end to prevent cars coming down here, and some dog poo bins. Yep. Pretty glamorous. After that, I thought it would be a wise idea to finally place my high school, as we were rapidly running out of room for the thing. It's ended all the way up over here in the corner because, once again, there's barely any room for it now. But regardless, I think it looks good up here. I decided to create a small housing estate opposite the high school, using my realistic suburban house. Not only that, I added Asda along the main road, because why not? And then I decided that Mr. Bean's house would actually kind of fit the vibe here, that's just such a weird sentence to say. In amongst this, I have added a small park as well. Also had to do a little bit of landscaping here too. I then added some more houses and my convenience store to the end of the road. The housing estate was looking really bare, so I decided to add Horrid Henry's house to the end of the street, which I think does quite nicely fit the sort of British vibe that we've got going on here. Not only that, I added some on-street garages, which once again also sort of fit the vibe, and also a football pitch that started off as a small football arena, but just didn't seem to make much sense in the end, so I just converted it to a pitch. And after a bit of landscaping, I decided that this area was looking pretty good for now. I then decided that it was time to improve Mini City's public transport system by implementing a train station all the way up here near the high school. We did have to reconfigure things a little bit by, first of all, separating the car park, elongating the steps, reattaching the car park, and then figuring out what to do with this weird dead space in between the two. I opted for some rocks and a fence. I then had no idea what to do with this patch of land, so I stuck some small houses here and, well, they look pretty nice actually. I created a road that ran between the two, and that gave us this nice area here, which looked like a prime candidate for my high street / clock tower build, and look at that, that works so well. I also added some more of the small house in front of this area, and this was really starting to feel just exactly how I wanted it to. We also have the bookstore, which I placed next to the clock tower. I didn't know what to add here, so I did just opt for some more houses. I feel as though that there's a housing shortage in Mini City, and I am doing my best to combat it. We then had some more dead space, which I decided to fill with a bus stop and a bus, and then just some plant life and a fence. I genuinely don't know what else to add in just these random little patches. On the opposite side of the market square, I wanted to add my Italian style restaurant and also make a through road to the high street. This took way longer than it should have. Oh, I also added a taxi rank next to the train station as well. I don't know where the footage for that went, but this is what it looks like. I had a housing estate hole to fill all the way over here in this corner of the suburbs, but not only that, I did also add a Chinese restaurant, a small car park, and Tesco's. I always say Tesco's for some reason, but it's Tesco. I can't be the only person that does that. Leave a comment. Do you call it Tesco or Tesco's? Like, it doesn't sound right to say, I'm going to Tesco. I'm going to Tesco. I'll stop. At the end of the estate, I placed a large modern suburban house, and I snuck the loud house here in the corner as well. I think that this is the best place for it. I don't want any noise complaints. I then decided to combine some of my favourite things: bowling, the cinema, and retro-style food establishments. So I took my movie theatre, my bowling alley, retro KFC, retro McDonald's, and retro Burger King, and I just made possibly the most wonderful retail leisure park that one could ever imagine. Oh, also, I stuck my mechanic's garage here because I just didn't know where to put it.
Garage la-dee-da. It's a car hole.
I've been thinking about this area for a while, and I wasn't certain what to do right now, so I removed the housing estate and just shoved the farmer's market, scrapyard, Beetlejuice's house, and this, quite frankly, oddly themed suburban house just all the way over here against the forest, which then allowed me to expand the suburbs by placing this house right here, which I'm a fan of. I wish I could tell you specifically which house this was other than just a suburban house number whatever. On the end of this road, I formed a T-junction and placed the Amazing World of Gumball's house and the Robinson's house, which kind of just lead on a road to nowhere, but I love that they're here and together. I really want to make the school from that show. I think that that'd be a really cool build to have as well. I then added a mini high street across from the suburban houses in the form of the nail salon, tattoo studio, the Samsung store, and a crumble cookie store. I did, however, remove the Samsung store because it didn't really fit the rest. I did, however, place it next to GameStop here at the base of the hill because for some reason these do go together in my mind somehow. I also decided to place the real estate agents on the road next to it for no discernible reason. This is the last suburban style house for us to use, and I could think of no better place than right here next to the Gumball builds. Running along the back of the high street, I mistakenly added my Lidl here, but it doesn't fit, that's why I chose not to show it. But more importantly, we have my hair salon, Planet Fitness, and my cakery, including some landscaping as well, as I am really trying to just not make the entire world flat. And I'm not doing a terrible job, I think. On the end of this road here, I did also choose to add both my dentist office, which I borderline forgot existed, and my vet clinic, which I also kind of borderline forgot existed. I don't know why these builds are so forgettable. They're very useful builds. I couldn't really get a good angle of me doing this, but I placed my basketball court at the end of the road here, creating a road that extended around the side of Planet Fitness, joining back to the main road at a certain point in time. This also inspired me to create a road not only running along the side of the basketball court, but around to the back of this large field area, where Lidl does indeed fit. I dare say that we could place 20 Lidls. That's crazy. 4 Lidls here. Live a little, live a lot. I'm 90% sure that that is their slogan, but I'm also not 100%. I finally had to make a decision on what to do with this area, and I chose to kind of just throw it in the rural area of my city, just out of sight, out of mind. But I did choose to place a brand new housing estate here instead, which I think is a better fit for this area of the city specifically. I also thought that this would be a nice place for the drive-in movie theatre as well. I discovered this massive green space in the area opposite where I was building, and I ran out of houses, so I chose to kind of turn this into a cartoon cul-de-sac of sorts, starting off with the original Peppa Pig house and the new version of Peppa Pig's house. I then chose to add the Oggy and the Cockroach house, the house from Blue's Clues, and Johnny Bravo's house, leaving room for any other cartoon-related houses that I don't think really belong anywhere in the future. Next to Lidl, I created a horrible-looking road and added Red Lobster, Denny's, Olive Garden, and then right out of left field, a Domino's, just kinda clustered together. I don't think I knew what else to do with them, so they kinda just ended up here. Which is exactly what happened with IHOP, Popeyes, Carl's Jr., and In-N-Out. I didn't know where to put them. And for those wondering, Steve's Lava Chicken stand ended up here, next to the roundabout. I think that we might actually be done with the main building portion of the suburb. suburbs. I don't really feel the need to fill in every single little gap that we have around the suburbs. It would be nice to actually have some space for new builds in the future. Not only that, these are the builds that we have left. Let's talk about them. These 3 builds, I think, match the suburban vibe very nicely, and when we next expand the new suburban suburbs, we will be including these. But for now, I don't just want to squeeze them in there for the sake of it. On the opposite side of that spectrum, we have Gusto's and the Mini Poppy Playtime Factory, both of which I think would just look better in different parts of the city. Gusto's in the downtown area and the Mini Poppy Playtime Factory in the industrial area. Next, we have just a bunch of different fast food related builds, just way too many to place, and the clothes store as well, I guess. I don't know why that's here. I'm sure there's a good reason for that. Anyway, some of these builds, like the sushi bar and Subway and Chipotle, just to name a few, are a bit too modern, I think, for the new suburban suburbs, so I'll probably place those in the new modern section of the city, which is over yonder. And then when it comes to the more appropriate builds, say like Chili's and Little Caesars and Zaxby's, there's just not really room at the moment. I don't want the city to get to the point where I have to make loads of little hubs like this one, just to have somewhere to put the builds. I'd like it to be a little bit more organic than that, although I know that's a little bit hypocritical as well. Now, this leads us over here, where we have some larger stadium/arena builds. Each one of the sports-themed builds here, I think, would just be better suited for the downtown area-ish of the city, or maybe even a new portion of the new suburban suburbs. I think that I'm going to put the music festival somewhere in the more rural area of the city, over there-ish. We do of course have the Lego Corner Cafe, which I do actually plan on revamping by shrinking it significantly and redesigning the interior, but that will either be a separate video by itself or part of another city renovation video, which really just leaves some of the utility builds like the bus stop and the pylons and the motorway and the roundabouts. You know what? It might be a good idea to add some of those to the suburbs right now. Wait, hang on! Guys! The fuel tanker! I honestly don't even know where to put this. It kind of feels as though it should be on this road, so maybe just like... just on the road, I guess? I don't know where else I could, but I guess I could keep it on the roof there. The only thing that annoys me about World Edit is the item frame situation. I feel as though that the suburbs could really use at least one pylon, but I'm struggling with where to put it. Like, option 1 could maybe be here, but this just seems a little silly for some reason. Option number 2, maybe over there in the corner, but then it's so far out of the way, like what's the point? Option number 3, I do think that maybe kind of like here in the cartoony section of the city we could place one, because there's nothing else here strictly. That actually looks kind of good, I think. Should it have some sort of stone pad that it sits on? I think that looks more professional. I know that I said that I didn't want to fill every single bit of the city in exactly, but I do think that we need at the very least an extra bus stop or 2. We do also have 2 very important things to do. Thing number 1, we have to place a bunch of vehicles in the city, which is made quite easy by this handy variety pack that we have here. This will still be incredibly time consuming, as just look at the amount of car parking spaces that we have in this retail park alone. And thing 2, who am I, the cat in the hat? Accidentally hit screenshot there as well. We have to go around and remove all of just the random rows that might be left, and any kind of concrete or gravity afflicted blocks that might be hidden around the city. Like here, for example. I'm not going to bore you by showing you all of that, so enjoy the time-lapse / before and after, depending which one I decide to use. This may be the most boring time-lapse that I have ever made. You can barely see anything. But rest assured, I added a bunch of vehicles into the suburbs. I'd estimate at least 10 of them. You know what, guys? I think that this is actually a good place to stop, as we could literally just keep going and going and going. For instance, we have to add some telephone poles around the city. We have to somehow connect the new suburban suburbs back into the downtown area. Probably not like that. The train station has to go somewhere. What about the motorway? Shouldn't the suburbs have billboards too? I think that you guys get the point. We could literally just keep going round and around and around again, and we would always find something else to do. So here it is. This is what the new suburban suburbs looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. I am personally very, very happy with how this has all turned out, but I'd love to see what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Did I do a good job? Would you have done something different? Let me know down there in the comment section. If you'll excuse me, it's about time that I got back to my very own private island. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye. You may be interested in becoming a channel member. You can click the join button that will be somewhere on the screen right now. This does cost money and is a monthly subscription, but you do get some perks. The first of which is a download link for my city design world. This has every single build that I have placed in my city, arranged in order, and labelled. This perk also comes with schematics for the mods Lightmatica and World Edit, so you can easily reference and copy and paste these builds into your worlds in any way that you'd like. However, if you're not interested in any of that building business, the highest tier allows you to download the most current version of Minicity. There are also some minor perks, including loyalty badges displayed next to your name whenever you comment something down below on my videos. Depending on how long you have been a channel member, you gain a more prestigious helmet, with the highly coveted gold builder's hat being the most valuable. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.